What's up everyone, Lilis here. Today I will use this agree or disagree question to show you how to address all parts of the question. Let's look at the question first. Government should spend money on railways rather than roads. To what extent do you agree or disagree with this statement? So if the question is, do you agree or disagree? When giving our opinion, we can just say that we agree or we disagree. But this question is, to what extent do you agree or disagree? To fully address all parts of the question, we need to use words like completely agree or totally agree when we give our opinion. This is the first thing you need to be careful with. Secondly, to fully address all parts of the question, you must first fully understand the question. So, what are railways? What are roads? Railways might include subways, high-speed rail networks, tram lines, international trains, and so on. Roads might include streets, highways, country roads, etc. So when discussing railways, if you only talk about, for example, subways, you definitely won't address all parts of the question. But of course, we don't need to talk about all these things. It's impossible that we cover all types of railways and roads in our essay. What we should do is to respond in a way that demonstrates that we understand that there are different types of railways and roads. We are just using a few examples, such as subways and high-speed railway networks, to explain why railways are more important than roads. You will see how I do it later in this video. Thirdly, to totally agree doesn't mean that we only need to talk about the thing that we agree with. So for this question, we agree that government should spend money on railways rather than roads. This doesn't mean that we only need to talk about railways. Please note that the question is not government should spend money on railways. To what extent do you agree or disagree? The question is asking us to compare railways with roads. If you totally ignore roads, then you do not address all parts of the question. Even though we think government should invest in railways, we also need to talk about roads. We need to compare railways with roads. I will show you how. So the first reason why I think government should invest in railways is that this encourages green travel. So my topic sentence is gonna be, funding railways encourages green travel. And when developing this topic sentence, I will not only talk about how investing in railways can encourage green travel, but also talk about why investing in roads can discourage green travel. Investing in roads may discourage green travel because it may result in more people using their cars. Improving roads may result in an increase in car use. Next, I will make a comparison. What will happen if governments invest in railways? However, if governments build more subway or tram lines to make it easier for people to take them to get around, more people will choose them rather than private cars as their major means of travel. This is how you contrast railways with roads. This is how roads can be brought in for discussion. This is how we address all parts of the question. So basically, so far, what we have said is that investing in roads may lead to more car use, while investing in railways may lead to more train use. Next, I'm gonna explain why taking trains is a greener way to travel than using cars. This is good for the environment because subway and tram trains have a much larger capacity and therefore much lower per capita carbon emissions than private vehicles. See, I just compared railways with roads again. This paragraph is done. Let's move on to body paragraph 2, in which I will talk about the second reason why government should invest in railways rather than roads. So my second reason is that railway networks are crucial for economic activity. This time, I will first talk about railways and then compare them with roads. Railway networks are crucial for economic activity because with these networks connecting different cities and even countries, goods can be shipped fast and cost effectively. So my first body paragraph doesn't have an example. It's okay. Not every paragraph needs an example. I will give one here. But please be careful that your example needs to be relevant to not only your topic sentence, but also your explanation. Now, I will show you a bad example. Take, for example, the China-Europe Railway Express. In July this year, it transported roughly 150,000 containers carrying everyday items to Europe, including Lenovo computers and car parts for brands like Polestar. On their return journey to China, cargo trays carry agricultural goods and parts for BMW cars. Yes, this example is about economic activity, but it's only partially relevant to the explanation. This example talks about shipping goods, but it doesn't talk about shipping goods fast and cost-effectively. In our example, we must talk about how the China-Europe Railway Express ships goods fast and cost-effectively. Take, for example, the China-Europe Railway Express, which moves cargo containers from China to London in only 18 to 19 days. This is roughly half the transit time of an ocean container, and the cost is around 10 times cheaper than making use of air freight. I'm not done with this example yet. I will continue to talk about why shipping goods fast and cost-effectively is important for economic activity. This means that goods can be delivered in time with relatively low costs from source to consumption for Black Fridays or for any other promotional activities that take place in the UK. Now do you see what a good relevant example is? And don't forget that we need to compare railways with roads. And when we discuss road transport, we should specifically talk about its cost and speed. Although road transport is also cost-effective, it cannot provide the speed that rail transport does. This paragraph is also done. Now let's move on to the introductory paragraph. First of all, I will paraphrase the question statement. It says, spend money on. I will instead use invest money in. And of course, we can replace rather than with instead of. It is argued that government should invest money in railways instead of roads. Next, I will give my opinion. And please keep in mind that when giving our opinion, we need to use words like completely or totally to answer to what extent. I completely agree with this point of view. Lastly, I will state the two main ideas of the essay. As you can see, the first main idea is green travel, and the second main idea is economic activity. In the introduction, instead of green travel, I can say environmentally friendly. Railways are more environmentally friendly. In terms of economic activity, there is really no good synonym for it. Commercial activity, business activity, economic activity, they don't mean the same thing. So don't be afraid of repeating economic activity and also play a key role in economic activity. Finally, the conclusion paragraph. Let's first restate our opinion. In conclusion, government spending should be on railways rather than roads. Next, let's restate the two main ideas of the essay. For one thing, better railway services encourage eco-friendly travel, and for another, they play a big part in economic activity. That's it. Here's the entire essay. To address all parts of the question, first of all, use words like totally or completely to respond to what extent. Secondly, fully understand what the question asks you to write about. In my essay, I use subways, trams, and high-speed railway networks to respond to railways. And in terms of roads, I kind of covered all types of roads. Here, I said an increase in car use. It can be cars on street, on highways, or on any other type of road. Lastly, do not ignore the thing that you disagree with. Instead, you should make comparisons. Note how I compared railways with roads in the two body paragraphs. That's it for today. You may also be interested in learning how to answer a discuss both views question. Be sure to check out this video. Thanks for watching. Bye!